throughout the entire Gacha community's history, its reputation has been dented. Like, a lot. Okay, more than a lot. It's like one of the most hated communities ever. But throughout that time, there's been a rise of people in the Gacha community that have wanted to save the Gacha community, make it better, and bring back the old Gacha community. The innocent times. The times where they weren't hated for liking a game. The times where... never mind. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how trying to bring back the old Gacha community and saving it won't work. Okay, so for some context, everyone outside of the Gacha community kind of hates the community, or they're neutral, or they don't know about it. The community doesn't have a good reputation whatsoever, if you're putting it lightly. There's a literal whole genre called Gacha Life Cringe on YouTube and on Reddit with over 200,000 members. The community's reputation is so bad for a lot of reasons. Unoriginal mini-movies, cringe, gacha, heat, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot of reasons that I won't get into. And so, because of this, a lot of people inside of the community have wanted to fix that reputation. A lot of the original members of the community, or just random members of the Gacha community, wanted to save the community and make it better. They've wanted to destroy this bad reputation, and they usually want to do that by bringing back the old Gacha community. By old, they mean how the community was a couple years back, in like 2017 or something. A lot of these people do this by making videos just talking about wanting to save the community. They can also put messages in Gacha comment sections talking about how they want to save it. In theory, this seems like a good idea. Having a bunch of people stand up against harmful content seems good, right? And yeah, that's definitely good. In theory, I would really like the idea of trying to stop the type of content, but I think in execution, it kind of just dies. The way these people try to save the Gacha community isn't very helpful. If you wanted to save the Gacha community, you would think of making it better and getting rid of harmful content. But I think you need to look into what this whole movement thing, I don't know what it is, really is trying to do rather than judging it off of the title of saving the Gacha community. And I think that what this is trying to achieve isn't very helpful. Like I said before, what people are trying to achieve is to bring back the old Gacha community. And let me just emphasize, as someone who was personally in the Gacha community at the time, the old community was not any better. I usually think that the reason they want to bring back the old community is mostly because it was before the reputation was completely destroyed and shattered to pieces. It still had a lot of very big problems and issues, but no one really talked about them because we were just dumb kids having fun. The community really didn't get much popularity at the time, so it wasn't as bad reputation-wise. The community was literally full of what a lot of people call cringe. In my opinion, cringe stuff is all based on your opinion. So if you don't think it's cringe, go ahead. I'm not gonna say if the community was cringe or not. I mean, for the record, it definitely was cringe in my opinion, but I'm not gonna say if it's cringe or not, since that's literally just opinion-based. But yeah, apparently over 200,000 people think that a lot of the community is cringe. But I think that a lot of people seem to forget that there was literally the same type of content in the old community, which is what they're trying to get back to. I mean, look at this video right here and tell me you can't see people saying that it's cringe. There were the hated child videos, even though I ironically like those, I promise it's ironic, and the gacha stereotypes. This era was literally what introduced the pink brat bully girl, the alpha male, and the femboy, etc. That's definitely an era I do not want to go back to. And that's a large type of content that existed during the old Gacha community. So if we were to go back to the old community, we'd probably be hated on more since that type of content was literally all you saw. Sure, there was good content here and there, but a lot of it was also pretty bad, like the current Gacha community. Now let's talk about these videos. I think it probably isn't surprising for me to say that I'm not really a fan of these videos. I think the intention is good. I mean, the intention is good for this entire thing, I hope. However, I think the way that they're trying to save the gacha community isn't very helpful, especially when it comes to videos made on this topic. A lot of people have made videos discussing how the gacha community is dying and how they want to save it. I think my issue with these videos is that it's more just spreading around a problem rather than fixing it. I think almost anyone that's actually in the community is very much aware that the community has its issues and needs fixing, and spreading around a bunch of videos crying about this and being upset isn't helping at this point. It's bringing more attention to issues that would be solved if they were completely ignored. For example, let's talk about one major issue in the gacha community: inappropriate gacha stuff. Also, don't worry, I'll be really vague here. If we completely ignore these types of videos and they got, 0 views, it wouldn't be an issue because it's such a small portion of the community that's already hated so much by the majority of, everyone, so no one would really notice it anymore. And that type of content would almost cease to exist. There's always gonna be some weird people in every community, but what matters is how we deal with that. And I think it's safe to say that the community definitely messed up on that. There's like a billion videos discussing how bad some of these issues are, but these videos are bringing attention to such a small issue that doesn't need attention brought to it, if you get what I mean. Or for example, a more common thing that people talk about. A lot of people think that the gacha community is toxic, and once again, every single community is going to have some bad people, and there's always going to be toxic people everywhere. We can't just make them perish, so we should just ignore it. That's just my opinion though. I know it's way harder to actually ignore straight up toxicity, especially if you're the one being harassed or whatever, but if we ignore it, that portion of the community will become so small and unnoticed that it's just barely a problem. Obviously, it's kind of different with harassment or whatever, but you know what I mean. Overall, I think this has really given the stigma around Save the Gacha community a very bad name. For example, there's a hashtag running around that's been running around for ages called Save the Gacha Community. A lot of people don't support it or think it's just kind of stupid because everyone that's making videos on the topic is just kind of crying about it and being really upset. They're more of just really upset that the community is dying rather than actually trying to fix it. If someone told me about it, my immediate thought would probably be the videos of people crying about how the gacha community is getting ruined. So I've literally talked this entire time about how saving the gacha community this way won't help. So what will? I think something important to remember is that to save the gacha community, it needs to be dying or to be dead in the first place. So I think the first question is the gacha community dying? And to that I say, sort of. I don't really know. I don't think it's dying because of the unoriginality, the toxicity, or whatever. Like I said, that type of content has literally always been in the community since the very beginning. So if that were true, I think it'd be completely dead a long time ago. I think it's just dying because it's gotten such a bad reputation that the people that were in the gacha community beforehand are starting to leave it or just grow out of it. And no one new is joining the community because of the reputation. That's just in general though. I'm sure a bunch of people are still joining and a bunch of people are still staying in the community, but just in general, that's what I think. I still think there's a ton of issues though. If people want to improve the actual content, I would say to start creating actual content that's not the hot mafia kidnapped me or something like that. Start doing your own stuff instead of being the copy and paste. But gonna be honest, making a video being upset about the gacha community dying, whether intentional or not, is adding another video to Gacha Life Cringe from outsiders.